So would you look at that? We got us a P0401 exhaust gas recirculation EGR flow insufficient detected. Alright, so how's everybody doing today? A 2011 Ford F550. It is I think a P0401 code. Problem that we're having is that code is a EGR flow code due to a plugged EGR cooler. So we're going to change the core that is inside. So we come over here, and there's a part number for the core of this year, and there's a part number of the gasket kit, install kit doodad. Like there's different cores. Newer ones are a little bit bigger holes. This one is the older one. That's what they had. It goes with this vehicle. So here's our EGR cooler underneath this mess of loveliness. So what we're gonna have to do is pull this off, change it, and put it back. So yeah, I gotta pull these hoses off, pull the cooler out, disassemble the cooler, change the core, and put it back in. So while doing this, we'll have to remove the intake here. We'll have to remove the cooler, obviously, the intake, hoses, the wiring, and such, to get it out. So first thing we're going to do is drain the coolant. This is the I believe the secondary cooling system. So we drain this by pulling the hose off right there off your cooler under. It'll be easy to show you this way. So there's your line that goes to the that little cooler right there. Just pull that top hose off. Make sure you stab your head on the plow mount when you roll under, like I just did. I believe it is step 3 in the replacement of this. So over here is the drain for the primary system. And if you have a 6.7, you probably have a def tank or a def bottle. So I just drained out the 2.5 gallons there. I did clean it out originally, but the hose just kind of sits right there, and just kind of poke it in the drain and drain it in there. That is this one. You might have to crack your cap here because I had a vacuum lock and it wouldn't drain out. So anywho, this one here, I'm probably just gonna change this coolant because it's a little difficult to catch that unless you use a clean container, and this vehicle has about 100 or 78, 90,000 miles, something like that on it. So I'm just gonna change the couple of gallons of coolant there. I might even change it on the other side too, just to kind of get all fresh stuff, because you do have to change it every once in a while. All right, so if I pull this, there's a mass airflow sensor. Pull it over the tab down, I'll lock off. Pull that back, big clip off that hooks it to the air box there. Pull these hoses out of this. I think that's going to be an 8mm, I believe, and that is correct. Millimeter. That is the bolt that holds this intake down. Get this hose clamp off here. Some of these out. Pull that loose. Take our little tab tabs off here. Lift it up and out. And let's see if we can maybe wiggle this out. Possible. Like so. What this plastic piece that the wiring goes into with these two 8mm bolts, I'm going to take those off. And that should release it. So down here, this wiring is connected to another one of those trim doodads. I wish I had the tool for it. I don't know why I don't. That's in the side of the box there. Yeah, battery box. That one came out. Okay. Up here we got two more connectors that are connectoring this harness to that, so we'll get those off and then we'll pull this harness out of the way. Alright, so I use my little pick doodad to kind of push the tab in because I can't really get my fingers in there. Pull this crap out. On the side here, you got that little T thing right there that holds that cardboard to the EGR cooler. So we're gonna take that off. I think there's one there. There's one a little farther back. We're gonna get those out. This harness might be out of the way enough. Right there, it runs underneath there, so I don't know what that's connected to. So we'll get that insulation splash guard thing out of the way, and then we'll see. So that harness runs to all the injectors up here, so I'm just going to leave them connected to that. Just keep this kind of tucked up out of the way a little bit. Hope that works. So here's that. This vacuum line off of there. Keep it to the side. So next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this intake off. Alright, so I'm gonna pull this air box out. There's an 8mm bolt here, and then I just kind of ripped up on it to pull the plugs out of the bottom. And then we'll pull that out, and hopefully I get a little more room with some of this stuff here and kind of tuck it into that hole. There's them. Those are the bolts that come out of the dipstick tubes, because you can't get to the bolts that they're under, or that are under them, until you pull them off. Yeah. Right? Maybe. Bolts. I like to drop down on everything. This one over here. Dang. The dipstick is pushing it down. That'll help a little bit. There we go. I do remember I have had this off because I did change that turbo coolant line there. I just don't remember it giving me as much trouble last time as it did this time. It was just getting stuck up against here, and then it just, I don't know, it made it work, but it was a fighting. So let me get some rags and put them in the intakes there so I don't drop any bolts in. And then we got to take off the back pressure tube, maybe. Never mind. Just kind of push the tabs in. A little different. Squeeze them 2 tabs and slide it up. What's next? Let's try to get this tube off. See how that goes. Do the harness here. Well, that's just floating in there for some reason. guess the problem parts are going to be these 2 bolts here and 2 in there. So get those 2 bolts on the manifold tube, one there, one on the other side. Those can break off. Then you got the 2 here, can tend to break off inside the cast iron cabin chassis models, which is what this is. So we'll have to give it a try, see what happens. These ones down here I'm a little nervous about. My luck says that they are going to break. So I gotta wonder if I can just stick a torch in there. Give them little assistance. Listen, I'm quite nervous of those ones. So what do I got? There goes the screwdriver. I got it. Anything here that can't get hot, I guess, is my concern. One. Let me get my thing ready. It was on, right? Fudge. Probably can't see by my arm, but having a hard time with this tip. I don't think the tanks and stuff are made for such a small little tip. Then, see if we can get anything moving. All right, that worked out pretty easy. So you can get a torch in it. I'd be careful you don't have like acorn shells and all kinds of little things in there from animals and unwanted guests leaving, like I say, leaves and crap, because you don't want to set your engine on fire, I'm guessing. So keep a fire extinguisher handy. But that was pretty easy. Get these 3 across the front, we'll pull out. We got one there, and I think the same on this side. So we can pull those out. So some wiring on the back side of it. There's 2 connectors. Well, not 2 connectors, but there's two little plastic fasteners like we had all over on the back. And you gotta slide those off. And then there is a nut that holds this tube on to the exhaust back pressure sensor. Let's see. It's gonna be kind of a funky angle. There's something back here. I don't know what you can see back here, but that's kind of like what you got. So, yeah. Let's see, so. Off, so that wire tab there just pulls off. One. So unplug the exhaust back pressure sensor connector. Let me show you. So right here is where you get that nut that holds this little bracket on. So I gotta get that off. And that was where the plastic connector was on that stud that you pull off. There's another one down there, but I don't have the strength in me to pull it off the stud. So I'm gonna have to kind of try to work this forward and get it as it gets closer, because I can't pull it backwards with the hand I got to do it. I might be able just to get this nut off. Let me loosen this up, and I think that's a 16mm on there. And maybe we'll try to get that loose. So if anything, I can just kind of rotate it out of the way, maybe. So that's coming off pretty easy on this one. Keep in mind when you pull your connector off this, you see the little purple in there. That's actually the insulator, and then there's a little cap that's inside there that's stayed in there. You got to get that out and put it back on the plug before you plug it back in. But anyway, so I'm going to take this tube right out. Alright, so I came in with this pry bar, and I got behind that little plastic piece, kind of held it there, and I just pried against the back of the cooler to get that off. That one was on there pretty good. And I kind of came under here and then just popped it up with the pry bar to break the seal. So we're going to pull it out now. So I'm just going to kind of wiggle it up, pull it forward, try to get it out. It's going to be heavy. It's going to have coolant in it. It's going to make a mess. So keep that in mind if you're trying to be clean about it. Well, I don't know if it'll make a mess, but I assume it will. Alright. Kind of stick that there and see if I can do something with it. Let's go. You don't want to put your knee in a position that is comfortable at the moment, but will become excruciatingly painful the second you start having to stay there. So, that's my first order of business. Let's see if we can get this out. It is on some dowels. Yeah, that wasn't so bad, was it? That's better. Alright, so we're going to take apart the cooler here. We're not going to disassemble the valve. We're just going to take the, what is the bypass housing, whatever it is. Take this off. So you're going to take these perimeter bolts off that are through the second section right here, not these ones on top. The only one you're taking up on top is this guy right in the middle here, because it's a long bolt that goes through all of them. So these are 8mm as well. They are on a pin or a dowel, so you'll have to kind of keep working it until you get it off the dowels. Seems to be fighting on the bottom one. There. Ew! Look at all the crap in there, huh? This vehicle, let me see if you can see that. Yeah, you can see that. Oh yeah. So there's that. I'll end up cleaning all that crap off, but you can see, it comes through this way and through that way, you can see just how much crap's on there. This vehicle did have this code pop up probably about a year ago, and I cleared it, and it's been off till about a month ago, and I just had to fit it into the schedule when I could change it. But anyway, so there's that. So we got to get this out. I'm gonna take the back half off. Let me go grab my thing and drain what might be in there out. Alright. Seems to be empty. See what's going on? So these are 13mm. I'm gonna take these bolts here off. Remember where your studs went. That one's a 10. I'm gonna take that off. Plonk. That'll probably clean up some of the sediments and, oh, I'm sorry, stuff in there. I'll try to clean up the sediments and stuff in there. I believe this only goes on one way. There's a gasket here. Gotta remove this gasket. Change it. There are 2 O-rings in here. Once we knock this core out, there's 2 O-rings. We'll have to change those O-rings. What's in there? One? Oh, that's it. Slide that out. So you got 2 dowels on one side. I mean, obviously you're gonna, I think there's multiple gaskets in there, so it's gonna be the one that fits the shape. And pull the one off the back. I'll clean this kind of stuff off here and things that'll keep it from sealing. Maybe get a little scrape on that corrosion, and clean this up. Change out the O-rings and such. Clean up the back side, and yeah, then we'll start reassembling. All right, let's swap out these O-rings. Pull out the one. Pull out the two. Try to sure there ain't anything in there. Get our new gaskets, O-rings. One. Two. Probably put a little bit of grease on them so that cooler will slide in there. Not gonna go crazy. So we're gonna have some gaskets here. This one says cooler side. This one says bypass side. This one's got to go on first, up against the cooler, and such. So cooler side down, matches the shape of the jacket there. Put a little grease on there. is that. Take our other gasket, bypass side, line up our dowel holes that are here. Bypass side is inserted. So we got this. I scraped off as much of the stuff as I could get off. Got that little hole. That as clean as we can get it. Dump out some coolant that you weren't expecting. There's that. So this comes with a bunch of new screws. You got new screws, got the long one. Long one goes in the middle. All your short ones. All your short ones going around the outside. So there's a torque sequence to torque these. There's also a torque procedure. First step is 89 inch-pounds. Second step is 106 inch-pounds. Third step is 106 inch-pounds, then an additional 90 degrees. So that's how we're going to do it. So I'm going to kind of snug these down in the order, and then we'll start torquing them. So at the bottom. Alright, so we got this piece here. Kind of wiped it out, brushed it out, got as much stuff out of it as I could. This gasket here, it's only going to go one way. This hole is in the center, and this one's kind of offset, so it's only going to go in one direction, like so. So this one has a torque sequence as well. You're going to torque these to 133 inch-pounds on these back bolts here. So you're going to want to remember which ones is which ones had the studs, which ones didn't. Those in first. Okay, so that is that with this. So we gotta go change out a couple of the O-rings that are in the valve cover, which are these guys, and then we can put this back in. So this was that tube that ran over. I'll show you over here. So I heated it right along this side, and then I heated it in the front right along that side. Let me take this out because I don't gonna help anymore. But that's how I did heat it there, and I heated it there, and I just used that fine torch or brazing tip, whatever it is. Let me show you. See a little wire piece hanging right there? That's the one that was on the back corner. And obviously that one right there is the one that was in the top. And those two little fasteners were right there. All right. Let's see if I can. Let's see if we can get this thing in. Alright, so there's a torque procedure for this as well. So this is going to get torqued to 89 inch-pounds as well. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 is how it goes. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to push those two wire connectors or the wire retainers back onto those studs. Well, actually, I'm not going to push the top one on here because I still have to put the exhaust back pressure sensor behind that nut and then put that on. So I'll put the exhaust back pressure sensor tube in. I'll take the connector out of the sensor, or not the connector, but the pieces out of there, put them back on the connector so I can plug it back in. This is what the hook and stuff looks like. So I'll put that back on, tighten it down, plug this back in, and then we'll pretty much be done back there. Then we can just start putting the stuff back on up front. I'll put these exhaust tubes on first, then we'll put the intake on, and then we'll start putting the stuff back on over here. Alright, so we're gonna put this little pipe in here. Change the gaskets. So I had a shorter bolt. I don't know if somebody's changed something in here before. But one of these bolts is not like the other. It's see, it's a little shorter than the rest. And the only hole I think it would go into is this upper one over here, because it's not a through hole. It has it's got a bottom in it. So out of all of them, they all have through holes except for that one. So if you got a short bolt, I would say that that's where it's gonna go. There's that. So there's a torque procedure for the intake. That's your steps, and 89 inch-pounds on that also. So you generally want to put new gaskets in this intake. I said when I had it off before, I had replaced the gaskets, so they are reusable to a point. I think we'll be all right with them. So I'm gonna tuck this in and bolt it down and torque all the bolts. So that's the way that this needs to be held. So I say that's the torque procedure, and that's the way that it looks on the engine. I was able to get all of them with this and a long 8mm socket, and I was able to get it with a short. So all these you can come into here on this side, come into there on those side between the tubes. All these in the front are easy to access. This hose I left off just because I had left it off, and with this moved out of the way, it allows you to get at those, to torque those. So I would leave that hose off until you got this torque down, or however you want to tighten them. It's up to you. There's that. Tighten up these dipstick tubes. Bolts back in. These two over here, and then hook our hoses up and put our air box in. So I'll put our 2 bolts back in the front of this wiring track or channel, whatever you want to call it. Finally found this. I've been looking at this for like a friggin' hour. You know where it was? Right in plain sight. And I believe we are all back together except for a zip tie and a couple of little tabs and stuff here and there that I gotta get. We got a zip tie for this. This guy. Voila. So all I got left is put some coolant back in it. Alright, so there was something in the manual that I seen that said to calibrate the EGR valve, you're supposed to turn the key on, engine off for, I think it was 10 seconds, and then turn the key off for 30 seconds. I don't know if that's for a new valve or just for this procedure, but I mean, I'll do it just because it's not a huge deal. And all right, so I got the coolants topped off, both systems. I'm gonna take it outside. I'm going to run it, get it warmed up, make sure everything operates, make sure I don't have any leaks, and then retop off the coolant levels after I'm done. I did go down here and put this hose back on the cooler for the secondary system. I did close the valve over here for the primary system, and that should be the end of that. So I hope that can help somebody, and thank you for watching.